Hey guys, it's Stephanie Mitchell here. I'm an online marketing coach for beauty business owners, and I'm so pumped up today because we are talking about how to build generational wealth as a beauty professional with an amazing financial coach for the beauty industry called Jessica Crane. She helps salon owners and independent beauty professionals to build more wealth inside their business and then in a personal sense. So she's going to talk to us about how to increase your profit margins, how to make more money and decrease your costs. So essentially how to get a hold of your business finances. And then she's going to share with us how do you actually take that money in your business and use it to improve your personal and financial life. So how much money you should pay yourself and what to actually do with that money. We're talking how to invest it, how to potentially buy properties, how to turn those properties into income generators so that you can actually build wealth for your children, grandchildren, etc. Such a good eye-opening interview, and if you've been wanting to be able to pay yourself more and actually feel like your business contributes to your overall wealth as a person, I'm so excited to jump into my interview with Jessica. Hi guys, and hi Jessica. I'm so excited to chat with you today about building generational wealth for beauty businesses, salon owners, and beauty professionals. This is such a cool topic.
Hi Stephanie, thank you, and thank you for having me for this chat. Really excited to dive deep and hopefully it adds some value to you guys watching.
Yeah, first of all, I love your whole aesthetic. I love the pink. I feel like that's kind of like your signature color. I love the dark blue, the flowers, all of that. Is that like your studio where you record videos?
Yeah. So this is my office. So I'm in here 90% of the time, recording, hosting our programs from here, and just everything happens live from here.
Yeah. So you work with salon owners and beauty professionals. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got started in the beauty industry and what you do today to help the beauty industry?
Yeah, sure. So I had my first job in a salon when I was 12. And for me at that time, I was like, I knew that I needed to leave school and get into a working environment, right? And so I started my first job in a salon when I was 12, and I was doing Saturdays, weekends, school holidays, after school. And straight away, I just loved the environment, I felt like I was in the real world, with real adults, and your salon owners are like your mom and dad when you're young and in the salon environment, and then all the stylists are like all your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And it was, for me, it was a family environment that I didn't have.
Yeah.
So I started my first job when I was 12. I left school at 16 and did my apprenticeship in hairdressing. And then I was a salon manager at 18.
Oh, wow. That's a big responsibility for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, I think I just naturally fall into those roles. I'm very structured and organised and like things a particular way. So I think it just always suits me.
Yeah.
And then I left salon to do education. So I taught hair, beauty and business admin. So I was an assessor, I was an internal verifier. So I started to get a lot of experience in formal education. And I did enjoy that side as well, but it was when I went on maternity leave with my daughter Harley, who's just turned 8, so it was 9 years ago. I went on maternity leave, and I kind of was questioning at the time, what is my next step in the industry? Sometimes when you do roles, you feel like you've hit the glass ceiling, there's nowhere for you to go. So I'd kind of hit my glass ceiling, and whilst I was off on maternity leave, I decided to do a degree in consulting. So I was doing that, and naturally a lot of salon owners who I had taught their apprentices were reaching out to me, and they were like, oh, I know you're off on maternity leave, but could you help me with this, or could you help me with this? And I was like, yeah, of course I can, I've got nothing else to do, absolutely. So very naturally began to grow into a coaching business like 9 years ago, and very organically. So, and it's just kind of grown and evolved from there, really.
Yeah.
So yeah. So and
That's
now
such a good, like, I love what happened to you and like how it kind of it took you to where you are. It's so different from my own story, but I was curious about like the financial side of things. So the thing that you love talking about and teaching about is the and which is what we're here to talk about today, is like building generational wealth and finances and all of that. How do you help beauty business owners with that, and like how did that become your area of expertise?
I think that came from my own. I don't know if I would call it a fear, but I knew that nobody was financially going to support me. Like, that wasn't going to happen. Like, I needed to financially, physically, mentally, emotionally support myself, right? And as soon as, because I was a manager at a young age, you are dealing with the finances and you are looking at things, and you kind of start to grasp an understanding very quickly of how these businesses run. And I think I noticed straight away that everybody feels like, because we're a creative industry, like we're doing it out of the goodness of our heart, and that we have this weird money mindset that we don't talk about money or promote making money as a positive thing, when it absolutely should be, for multiple different reasons. Because when you have more as a business, you can give more back. If you don't have anything, you can't give anything to anybody else. So we want more good businesses making more money so that they can expand, so they can take on more team members, so that they can grow the industry. And that comes from them earning more money.
Yeah. So what kind of things do you help them with specifically?
So we look at their financial structure. I think most people don't have a financial structure. They kind of avoid their finances a little bit. And it's completely understandable. Like, one of the things I think is the most crazy, bizarre thing is that we all go to school for like 13, 14, 15 years, however long, and we never learn about money. So most people start their business and they don't have financial education or don't have financial structure or whatever. So what we do is we put that one of the things that we do is put that financial structure in place, so that we are teaching them how to handle the money, forecast the money, and really get a grip with every single number and detail of what is happening with the finances inside their business, so that they have full control over it. The reason people feel it's out of control is because they just don't have the structures in place to control it.
Yeah, interesting. So is this something that applies to both like salon owners that have like multiple team members and also someone who's like independent too?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is like what we call the wealth cycle, which we would do with either a salon owner with a team or with an individual. And basically, one of the first steps you want to do is focus on your salon revenue, right? So you want to make generating revenue. That's your first step. Your second step is to make sure that you are maximizing for net profit, both as a business and as an individual. So the more you increase your net profit, you can then use this net profit as a business owner to draw down as a director's drawings, to put into a pension, to go free, which is diversification. Like, you want to invest that money into something else. Like your shares, pension. Like, some of our clients do property or multiple properties or whatever is your jam. You want to invest that money. It will obviously give you assets, which then those assets will create more income. So because then you come out of this trap of trading time for money. And one of my favorite examples of this is Beyonce, right? So she was a service-based business. If she weren't shaking her booty singing, she wasn't earning money, right? But what she did then, and one of the most amazing things she did, was instead of being paid one time by Uber, she asked to be paid in stocks and shares. And
So
now
was
that
she
is
I didn't know that part. Was she like endorsing Uber or something like that?
was doing a private cons for them and their corporate team.
Oh, okay.
So instead of charging her private fee, she had the equivalent in stocks and shares, which now is worth 10 times than if she'd have had the money up front.
Smart.
Now, this is important. This is how people like Beyonce, Rihanna, Michael Jordan, how they become billionaires, because they used their initial money from trading time for money, and they invested it into intellectual property or assets or some other stream,
Yeah.
and then that now makes them more money.
Yeah, I love that. So there's essentially like two sides of it. It's first what you do in your business to maximize your profit so that you can actually, like you said, draw more money out or pay yourself more. And then the
Yeah,
second part is what you do with that money that you pay yourself.
yeah.
I love that. So let's break that down a little bit. First of all, I'd love to know, I know that you focus on the beauty industry. How is the beauty industry different from other kinds of businesses? Like, this is something that you specialize in. You've worked with so many of them. Like, what are the like unique challenges or like unique business model that like makes this so applicable to the beauty industry?
Yeah, I love working with the beauty industry because it's my background. I feel like they're my people, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I feel that the emotional connection we have running our businesses, you don't see in other trades, right? I say this to my clients. I'm like, I've never had a builder, a carpenter, electrician come to me and then offer me money off or a discount or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, it just doesn't happen. And we are fulfilling services that are emotional to our customers as well. So there's a lot more emotional complexity to our industry, I
Yeah.
feel. Um, and obviously we are part of the fashion industry as well, and we're part of the retail. We're an industry that cross over into so many sectors, and which means the owners, we have more hats to wear, which means we have more to do.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much to do. So let's break down those two sides. So you said, before you can ever start like building that generational wealth and getting that kind of money, it's about what you do in your business. So what kind of things do you see people struggling with in like how they run or manage their business that prevents them from building up that profit? And then what can they do differently? And like, how do you help them to change things so that they actually are able to like pay themselves a really good wage?
Yeah, so one of our famous kind of formulas that we inject straight away is called our profit equation. So basically making sure that you have a pricing structure that you can break down and know how much your business costs need to be covered for that customer, how much stock costs needs to be covered for that customer, how much VAT and tax application needs to be covered for that customer, how much wage, time, commission, or even if your business model is right, whether you're employing somebody or they're self-employed or they're renting from you or whatever structure you've got going on, and then what is the profit per treatment and service that you are delivering.
Right.
And when we inject this formula, we haven't worked with a client yet who wasn't making a loss on some, if not most, of their treatments and services
Ooh.
before injecting this.
Wow.
Meaning,
So does that mean that they like weren't able to pay themselves pretty much?
yeah, so that what that then means is, and you can imagine it gets worse at scale, right? If one or service is unprofitable and you've got a whole team carrying them out every day at that price point, it's kind of why people feel like they pour all this revenue in, they pour all this water in the bucket, and there's no water left in the bucket.
Yeah.
And a lot of our clients say this, they're like, how are we busy and there's never any money left? it's because of all this granular detail that we need to just make sure that we are structuring the business model correctly, structuring the pricing correctly, and making sure it's bespoke to you. Like, that's the biggest mistake people make, is they're looking at what everybody else is doing and feeling that they have to gauge their price on somebody else's price. Their business and your business has hundreds of variations that you can't price it the same.
Yeah, exactly. So do you think that like the biggest thing that like makes a change is just raising prices?
It's not always necessarily raising them. Like, sometimes that's an issue, or sometimes it can be that there's an issue with their business costs, or their stock costs, and they haven't realised that over the past 18 months the stock costs have increased by 18%, and so they haven't factored that in.
Right.
Are they choosing the right brand to work with? The same with VAT and tax. Like, if there's been increases, have they accounted for that? The same with, every year, especially in the UK, the minimum wage changes and your pension contribution as a employer cost changes. So we have to make sure that all these things we're constantly reviewing and we're aware of. And when we can break it down, we can change the right part that we need to.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So what are some other things that we can do in our business? So keep track of what all our expenses are. That there's probably a lot of hidden expenses that we don't even realize that we have. So keeping really good track of all those exact expenses, raising prices where needed. And is there anything else that we can do to increase those profits in our business?
Yeah, so with your expenses, we provide our clients with like a P&L, and it's got budgets and benchmarks for every item on your business, because I think that a lot of people are reactive to ordering for their business and spend a lot more on stock than they need to, or have a lot of money sat on the shelves in their business, or overspending on refurbishments and kind of shiny objects. But then that is absorbing all the cash out of your business.
Yeah. So being careful where you're spending your money too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And asking yourself the question, if I spend this money, what is the ROI? Like, always ask yourself, what's the ROI?
Yes.
Because sometimes if you say, I'm going to buy this beauty bed and it's £10,000, what's the ROI on that?
Yeah.
Probably zero.
Yeah, no, that's such a good example. Like, for example, for myself, I mean, I have a completely different business model, but I have an online course that I teach. And right now I'm completely redoing the course, like start to finish. And it's very expensive because I'm working with a film crew and all of that. But I've actually calculated how I'm going to make that money back because of all of the improvements, because everything that I'm doing to, build more profit because of those updates. So it's the same thing as just like, don't spend money unless you can calculate what you're getting back from it.
Absolutely. ROI is key.
Yeah. And then how about just like tips for increasing just the revenue that's coming into our business?
Yeah, so we have like a whole marketing processes, and I think with increasing revenue, obviously we always want to increase revenue, we want to grow our teams, and we want to increase sales. But what we need to make sure that we're doing, I think one of the biggest mistakes is people just focus on their front end marketing and they have a back end marketing process.
Yeah.
And the back end is where the money is made.
Yeah.
So make sure that, yes, if you are posting to social media, if you are doing reels and all this shiny stuff on the front end, that you have the processes in place to nurture that person on the back end and optimize for the sales and the conversions. Because I can't tell you how many salons we see that have huge followers or huge numbers on the front end and zero back end.
Right. And so by back end, do you mean like how they actually bring those followers in for an appointment?
Yeah, so how do we take these people from platforms that we don't own, because you don't own your Instagram, you don't own Facebook, So we want to take them into our back end, which is your email marketing
Yeah.
system, your salon software system, anywhere that you own that data.
Yeah.
You want to get the clients from a place that you don't own to a place that you do own, so that you can market to them again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. I am such a big fan of using email marketing. I think that so many people just think that it's like old school and complicated and all of that, but like even just for clients that come in one time, for converting them to like long-term clients who keep rebooking with you, and just their customer lifetime value just like skyrockets when you put in place email marketing to nurture them and all of that. But that's a whole other topic. But I'd love to know, like, once you start working with these salons and they're increasing their profit margins, they're decreasing their costs, they are increasing revenue in a sustainable way. What are they able to do? Like, what are some of the things that they're able to do in terms of like paying themselves more? And like, I mean, we're especially here talking about wealth. So like building personal wealth. What kind of changes do you see in like how they're able to start like taking draws out of the business that they were never able to do before?
Yeah, so this is some of our clients' stories. Like when we talk about it and when they're sharing, it's just like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
So we have one client over the last 9 months. She'd had her salon for 25 years and had always broke even. And she started with us 9 months ago, and she has just bought 9 commercial properties.
Wow.
That she now from her profit, right? So from her profit, she's bought 9 commercial properties, and some are businesses and some she Airbnbs. And that is now, one, an asset for long term, but 2, it generates her income every single week, every single month.
Oh
so
my
she
gosh.
has multiple streams of revenue.
Wow.
We have other clients who have bought bigger houses, another client who has just bought land and is having her dream house built, and she's paying for it all. So she messages me, she's like, Jess, the timber's arrived, and there's pictures of lorries with timber, and she's like, I can't believe that I'm paying for this. Like this, I never even used to pay myself, and now I'm buying a house from scratch.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and so people, they're paying themselves. Importantly, they're investing in their stocks, shares, pensions. So they're not just paying their current selves, they're doing what we call pay your future self as well.
Yeah.
They're doing that, and they're investing it. And one of our clients just bought a big like camper van thing that they rent out, and that pays for their children's full-time school tuition fees.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, so honestly, it's crazy. Like, once you, and I get that some people think this isn't possible for me or they can't see a way, but once you get into it and you get in the cycle, you see how much is possible for you.
Oh, absolutely. That is so cool. And that must be so rewarding for you to be able to see like these huge life transformations that people are doing because they're finally able to like pay themselves well, and then they know what to do with that money once they do pay themselves. Okay, so before we get to like what to actually do with the money, how do we figure out like how much we can afford to pay ourselves, and like what is a good wage? This is like a topic that like people don't really talk about that much. Nobody, like, people like to say like, oh, my business makes like multiple 6 figures and stuff, but people don't really talk about how much they're personally paying themselves as a business owner. Like, how do we figure that out?
Okay, so that does depend on your goals, but it also depends on, obviously we also have clients in lots of different countries, like Australia, America, UK. So what you also want to look at is what your maximum allowances are.
Right.
Because you want to get smart with it. And maybe you want to look at what you can put into a pension, what's your maximum allowance per year. And you want to make sure that you're using that, because you won't pay tax on that. Then you want to look at what are the tax brackets. Like, how much tax do you want to pay, and how you want to stay under, and you kind of want to figure that out as well.
Yeah.
Now, what you can then also do is, if you're even, you're still going over that, you can then add your family members as directors and pay them through your company as well.
Right.
So it's really just about managing it as smartly as you can. Because of those exact wealth problems, we created a second program. So our Systemize for Success is our core program, but then we created a mastermind group, and we have a full-time financial advisor and wealth manager
Right.
who's in there, who is dealing with those exact wealth problems.
Yeah.
And she will up pensions or give them stocks and shares to invest in, or set it up if they need to add husbands as company directors so that they'll get more profit out of the business in the least taxable way.
Yeah, I was just smiling because I love that you call it a wealth problem because people don't usually put those two words together, right? It's like, how could wealth be a problem? But once you do have the option to start paying yourself more, then the question is like, okay, how do I manage this? How do I not get like completely killed with taxes?
Yeah, and that's what our clients come on now. They're like, Jess, it's nearly my end of this business year. Where do I put this money? Quick, help. And it's awesome. But, you know, and that's why you want to be in that mindset of educating yourself, because you don't want to be repelling money because you fear how you're going to manage it.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
fear money, you consciously and subconsciously will repel money.
Yeah.
If you feel like, do you know what, I'm going to get knowledge, I'm going to educate myself, and I'm going to manage this, then you are going to attract more money to you just by having that different mindset.
Yeah, that is so good. So let's talk about the generational wealth side of things. So it's not just about paying yourself more, it's about what you do with that money. So what are your first things that you teach people that work with you of like, okay, now I'm paying myself, what do I do with this? Like, so we talked about like managing the tax side of things, but like once you've got that money, maybe you've paid the taxes on it, how do you handle it? Like, what are some of your biggest like takeaways that you think that people learn that they just had no idea before once they work with you?
Yeah, so what we want to think about is, what are your long-term goals? Now, fine, and I get that people want to have the holidays and the car and the house and that's fine. Like, we don't say, you know, go without or anything like that, but so let's take Sue's story as an example, where she's bought 9 properties. So already she's created that generational wealth because her daughter is going to inherit 9 properties that make an income.
Yeah.
Like, her family, her future family have already got huge investments and assets because of what she created.
Yeah.
You know, so it's thinking about, what am I leaving for the next generation? What can I invest now? Because we all look back and think, I wish my parents had bought 5 houses.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so cheap back then. Like, so think of the things, the decisions that you could make in order to make some good investments now for future. Whereas a lot of people live to their means and they spend what they earn.
Yeah. So
And,
how
you
do
know,
we do that when we're, you know, we've got living expenses and we're able to pay ourselves, let's say, enough to cover our living expenses, and then we realize like, oh, now that I'm making more money in my business, like I can pay myself, let's say, an extra like $1,000 or $2,000 a month than I was before. And so do I save this money? Do I invest it? Like, just as an example, I'm curious about Sue, who was able to buy 9 properties. That's amazing, but that must have cost a fortune. Like, did she pay outright for those properties in cash? Like, did she take on mortgages? Like, how did that work?
So some were a bit of everything. So you want to, and again, it comes down to what your personal goals are. But if it is that much, I would say that's money that you are not used to having. So it's called what? So if you don't have a pension, I would absolutely be putting it in there first. And online, you can do like pension calculators and look at, when do you want to retire and how much do you want to live on then?
Yeah.
Because people do them and they're like, okay, I can't retire till I'm like 97 and then I'll still only have 10p a week, right? That should help you kind of set some realistic goals. So I would always proportion some of your income to your future self,
Right.
right?
And
Pay my
so,
future self with this money.
yeah, so that's a good point of like, we're self-employed, so we don't have that like classic like business pension for that comes from a corporation. So, do you like I guess in the UK maybe it's different, but like do you just recommend like investing in like stocks, or like is there like a pension plan?
Yeah, so this is what our wealth manager does, and basically you can have a wealth manager and they will put you onto a pension platform, and
Right.
it's kind of all dealt for you.
Right.
That's why I definitely have in or speak to a financial advisor, set them up, and it basically will put them into um, like buckets that invest for you basically over
Right.
and so you don't have to choose them. That's very high risk. It would go into like a group
Yeah,
spend.
like a fund or like that kind of
Yes,
thing.
exactly that. And then you can find out what your maximum is per year. So in the UK, the maximum under the tax threshold is 40,000 per year. So for the UK, for Australia, America, wherever you are, you want to find out what your maximum allowance is per year, and then kind of that could be one of your goals is
Yeah.
I'm going to maximum contribution per year, and then you can pick stocks, shares, or Bitcoin or NFTs or whatever else you want to invest in. But you really want to focus that my goal is, and we want to be aware of it so we're not always thinking short term, but when do I want to retire? Or when do I want the option to retire? Because whether
Yeah.
you do is awesome, but you want to have the option. You don't want to work because you have to.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So final question for you about like the wealth side of things. I am curious about the real estate part of things. Do you think that real estate can be a good option as opposed to like investing in funds?
Absolutely. We've had properties before in the past that we don't have property now. I don't personally enjoy property. I just don't. I didn't enjoy the maintenance of it and the constant tax rule changes of it. Don't choose property, but a lot of my clients do choose property, and I do think it is a good long-term strategy and avenue. But again, you need to make sure that you're fully aware all the tax implications that you're going to be paying, that you can manage if it doesn't rent out, if there is a problem, if there is a maintenance problem,
Yeah.
all those things. You need to have like a bit of a buffer in place so that you're setting yourself up for success with it.
Yeah. So do majority of your clients like take on a personal mortgage to get these properties, or do they like do it through their business and get a mortgage? Like how do they do that?
Yeah, so some can be commercial mortgages, some can be like part cash and part commercial mortgages. The benefit of having a commercial mortgage is I can't tell you how many times salon owners have invested a lot of money into refitting spaces and
That they don't
then
own.
that they don't own.
Yeah.
Exactly. That you could spend £50,000 refitting a salon and then the landlord say, can you please leave?
Yeah. Yeah.
And dilapidation costs is another big expense. A lot of people think that they can just sell their business and walk away, and it's not as simple as that. So all of that money that you've spent on refurbishing, you are also going to have to pay to take out.
So when you own your building, it might not necessarily be an income generator for you unless maybe there's like multiple different like business suites that you can like rent out to other businesses, but it's an extra expense that you don't have to pay in rent, and you're setting yourself up well for the future where like if you do move location or, sell the building, then you can benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of ours have quite big properties like old townhouses, and they Airbnb or rent residential parts to their commercial building. Then they run their commercial building, which really that rent, instead of paying somebody else, that's paying for your long-term asset, which you could sell at any point, and so on. So it's definitely worth thinking about if it's possible for you to do that.
Yeah, I love that. So for anyone who's watching this and is like, oh my gosh, my business is just small. Like, I don't own a salon. I'm just like, I'm independent. I'm solo. Maybe they're like a suite renter. Is some of this stuff possible even if you're just maybe like starting out in your career and you don't have a huge business that pays you tons of money?
Oh, absolutely. I think anything is possible for anyone. So even my two cousins are like 23 and 27, and they've just bought an Airbnb together in Cornwall.
Wow.
And, and they both have employed jobs. And so they both saved their money together, and then put it down on quite a big deposit, and then part mortgaged a small part, and they literally Airbnb it and have an income from it, like on a constant basis. So it's possible for anybody in any job role, absolutely. You just want to think, what is the ROI on this thing that I could invest in, right? So yeah, if you're a suite renter, and like I said, some of ours have got camper vans and caravans and a campsite and all sorts of crazy stuff. And one of my clients, she bought an ice cream van, and that makes about £2,000 to £4,000 in a day.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Diversified that way. So into other businesses that generate a high turnover. So it's absolutely possible for anybody. It's just getting smart about where you're spending it and where you're investing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so good. That's very inspiring. I love it. So if someone's watching this and they're like, oh, I need to work with Jessica because she knows her stuff and I really want to be on the path to generational wealth, how can they find you? How can they work with you? Like, what kind of options do they have there?
Yeah, so we have our core Systemize for Success program, which is designed for salon owners, and that will teach you like everything that you need to know to get and hit all of those goals. We've actually just created a new training that is phenomenal, so we could drop the link below that.
Awesome. Yes, please send it over.
Yeah, and then you can watch that, and we share lots of our client stories and lots of stuff that they've achieved and how they've done it and all sorts. So I think you'll really enjoy that. So we could share that with you. And obviously you can always speak to my team. Like, we hold free 50-minute business consultations every week with salon owners who exactly have those questions, and they're like, is this for me? Where am I at? And we kind of go through where you're at in your business, like all the goals that you have, and if and how we can help you and create a plan to make that happen.
Amazing. And if they want to connect with you, what's your website?
So it's jessicacrane.co.uk. So you can check that. And we have lots of our client video testimonials and stuff on there, so they're always awesome to watch for lots of ideas and stuff as well.
Amazing. So thank you so much, Jessica. This has been so eye-opening. I appreciate your time, and I wish you all the best, and thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Bye everyone.
Thank you,
Bye Jessica. Thank you.